Welcome to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks, where women share their dreams, struggles, and successes. How they were able to persevere despite the fear and create the life they want and deserve. If you're looking for inspiration to move you past where you normally would stop, then this is the show for you. Here's your host, Melissa Banks.
Welcome to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. I'm excited you could be with us today. I'm your host, Melissa Banks. Today, we have another amazing woman to share her journey with us and how she was able to keep going despite the circumstances. Today, we have LaWanna Bradford. LaWanna is an international best-selling author, public speaker, trainer, philanthropist, artist, avid reader, and writer who loves nature and spending time with her family. LaWanna believes life should be embraced in the moment of now, and that positive transformation and lasting impact in life and in business are achieved one strategy at a time. Welcome to the show, LaWanna, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Melissa. It's great to be here.
That's awesome. LaWanna, I just want to jump right in and take you back a little bit through some really big challenges that you faced. You had to push through a whole lot of stuff, and it wasn't like a lot of people, something happened, then a long time went by, and then something else happened. You dealt with some really big stuff, one after the other after the other. So basically,
yes.
all at one time, you were dealing with some really big stuff. You went through a divorce, the economic crisis, health crisis, all at one time. I would like for you to just jump right in there and share with our audience how you were able to push through, remain standing, and make it over to the other side.
Oh gosh, when I think back on those days, Melissa, it seems like it was someone else's life I was looking at. But yeah, it was a really tough time. Started off with getting divorced, and then my brother, who was in business with me, he decided to leave the business, and we were in mortgages. And then with the economic crisis, again, another spiral, and this is all within the same year. And then being hit with the health crisis. And the thing that kept me strong is my faith. I truly trust in God, and that's who I was holding on. I mean, there were times when I just felt like I was literally in this pit of despair and, was wondering if I was ever going to get out, if there was even a light at the end of the tunnel, because I couldn't even see the tunnel. I just knew there was just darkness. I couldn't tell what it was that I was in. And just persevering and just believing that. I remember talking to my father, and he said, these are really tough times for you. And he said, sometimes we pray for the mountain to be removed. And I'm like, yes, I want the mountain to be removed, the mountains. I'm like, get me down off of this place. And he said, but what about praying for the strength to climb? And that literally changed just the way I look at life and life's challenges, because we know as we journey and the longer we live, there's always going to be ebbs and flows. Something's always going to come up. And what he was saying was it's really about your attitude and how you're dealing with it. And to not be crippled by the situation, emotionally crippled, that is, not losing hope, not giving up in despair. And that's what I did, was just holding on. And, at the right time, things started to open up. But this was a 3-year journey of, I always call it yuck. It was just 3 years of yuck. And it just seemed like there was just no breathing room whatsoever. And if it hadn't been for my parents stepping in, I would have lost my home. I mean, I literally lost almost everything financially except for my home during that time as well.
Wow, as you were talking, I was just envisioning, we all go through a lot of things, but to find the strength and push through even facing all of those things. And when you said, I believe you said your dad said to you, I say this all the time, speak to that mountain and make that mountain move. I believe in that. But then when you said your dad said to you, instead of asking for that mountain to move, ask for the strength to climb that mountain. That is huge, LaWanna. I have never heard that before, and I've never heard it put like that before, but that was powerful to me for when you said that, and you gained strength from that. You know what? That mountain may not move, but you got to keep climbing. That's huge.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing that. I heard you talk about this, and if you don't mind, I would love for you to talk about it with our audience today, is when you received the health diagnosis, a friend gave you some advice that you said it literally changed your mindset and how you were approaching that horrible diagnosis. I would love for you to share with our audience what that was and why it was so powerful for you.
Yeah, it's funny that the way you're asking the questions, I'm looking and I'm seeing the little nexus of connections here, with my dad's, transforming comment and this one. So I was diagnosed with cancer, the big C, and it was T-cell lymphoma, but the type that I was diagnosed with is a rare form of lymphoma, and it's even rare to hit the African American community, and even more rare for it to hit a woman. And I'm like, really? And so when I told my friend about it, he said, well, LaWanna, you only have two choices. And I thought, well, what do you mean? I don't even know what this is. I'm trying to figure it out. You don't even know what it is, and suddenly, you're the wizard of medicine, right? I was just so angry with him. And he said, no, you have two choices. You can choose to die living or live dying. And that literally changed the way I looked at everything, because I realized we all have a termination date. And this isn't about, a doom and gloom interview, but that's the truth. We just don't ever want to talk about it. But, in this life, as we know it, there will be a time that we're born and a time that we die. And I hope that this isn't what causes me to leave this earth. But I realized at that point, I want to give my life the best that I have, this gift of life that God has given me. I want to, I thought at the time I was always living it to the fullest, but I realized that I wasn't embracing the total deliciousness, beauty of life. I mean, just letting it envelop me. And it's kind of hard to explain what that means. I think unless you've been with someone journeying through death or have either contemplated death yourself or been told that there's no cure for what you have. But at that moment, life suddenly became sweeter. Suddenly the rose-colored glasses were off, and I saw myself as I am, the good, the bad, the ugly, the flaws, the brightness of me. And I just truly loved who I was. And I just said, God, I love me. I thank you for breathing life into me. And whatever time I have left, don't let me take one day for granted. Let me be in the moment with everyone I meet. Let me just be so present. And that's when I started learning the power of presence and what it really meant. You hear things and you nod, but to actually be there is a transforming part, I think, in your life's journey.
Well, as you were talking and as I was preparing for this conversation, I can see the excitement, the passion you have. I haven't known you a long time, but in my research, I was like, you have so much energy, and it exudes from you. And it shows that you're embracing life, but you're not embracing it all on your own. You're doing so many things to help other people get into that place as well. And I think that is powerful. I also often talk about the power of the mindset and how you can change your mindset. And even though your situation may still be the same, it didn't change the situation. But what it did was it changed your mindset, and that's how you were looking at the situation, how you embraced this situation. And therefore, you were able to be the person you are with the love of life, which every time you open your mouth, you can hear it and you can feel it. And I think that's absolutely amazing. Okay, so we're going to change the subject a little bit and talk about something I heard you refer to yourself as, and someone else referred to you as this person as well, or maybe I read it, as a serial entrepreneur. And I've heard that term so many times, and I'm not quite sure if our audience knows what that means to be a serial entrepreneur. And also talk to us about if being a serial entrepreneur or an entrepreneur at all is a good thing or a bad thing.
Sure. Well, first of all, just to define entrepreneur, there's a difference between being a business owner and an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a person who's very creative and innovative, and that's what fuels your excitement and your passion. A true spirit of an entrepreneur is never quenched. Your fire never goes out. It's like you move forward, and if something doesn't work, it's like, okay, because the creative juices are flowing. You're operating at such higher levels of faculty of creativity, innovation, and reasoning that you just draw in other opportunities to yourself. So a serial entrepreneur like myself, I've opened many businesses, starting with my first, I would say, traditional brick and mortar business. I was 24. I've been in business since I was 17. But my first, where I could really say I could hang my hat on what it means to own my own business from, cradle to grave, was that one at 24. And then I've had numerous ones since then. And currently I have two businesses now. One is a business management consulting firm, and the other is an investment and commercial real estate brokerage. So the other question you asked was, is it a good thing to be an entrepreneur? I believe if that is your passion, I think certain things are innate in individuals. I don't think entrepreneurs are created. I believe they're born. I believe business owners can be created all day long. But it takes a certain type of chutzpah, if you will, or backbone or tenacity or grit to handle the life of an entrepreneur, because you're always daring to live on the edge, and the edge doesn't scare you. It actually excites you.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. I was speaking with a friend recently about entrepreneurship and how we constantly we think of new ideas, and we go through one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And he even refers to his entrepreneurship, his businesses, and his personal life as one, because it's all wrapped up in him. And I think about that sometimes, because we keep going and we keep getting more and more creative. I also think one of the things that's great about entrepreneurs and being an entrepreneur is that we go to the next thing and we go to the next thing. And even when it doesn't work, that didn't work, we keep going to the next thing. And I think that is the key. So I definitely agree with you on that.
Yes.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. And today our guest is LaWanna Bradford. LaWanna is an international best-selling author, public speaker, trainer, philanthropist, artist, and avid reader. Okay, LaWanna, I wanted to talk to you now about and turn our attention to your movement. You're a visionary and co-founder of the Celebrate You, Women Embracing Wellness. So tell us about that and why it was important for you to create a space for women to go to.
Well, the space was created, I think, by God's design. It was born in a Facebook group, but the Facebook group was only developed as a means to be a central repository for information for individuals who were going to be attending a retreat, because my business was sponsoring 5 women in business who happened to all be in the wellness industry. And they came up with the name Women Embracing Wellness. And I thought, okay, that's good, but I wanted something more catchy than just Women Embracing Wellness. That sounds like everybody's saying that. And so I put Celebrate You on top of it. And the next thing I knew, people were joining the page who weren't attending the retreat. And I was wondering, well, why? Because one of our co-founders said, LaWanna, this is a movement. And I realized that people were resonating with the message. And what the essence of the movement, if you will, is I truly believe, and I think this is also born from my own life experience, that when we are truly able to embrace and celebrate who we are, when we're able to love ourselves, truly love ourselves, and embrace everything about us, the good, the bad, the ugly, it just is. We're a sum of our collective experience. Then we're able to make changes in our lives, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, because it takes money to really make radical change. And at that point, we're able to impact the lives of our family, the community, the nation, and the world. So the ultimate goal with this is to help each woman realize her own power, her divine source of power, to relish in that, to embrace it, and to advance in it in order to affect change today and for the future generations.
Well, LaWanna, when I was preparing for this interview and over the past couple of weeks, I've been looking at the group and going to the group and looking at some of the posts that you've made. And the group is filled with so much stuff. That's why calling it a Facebook page is not okay, because it's so much more than that. You get inspired when you go through it. I mean, it's just a journey. You get inspiration. You get education because you're teaching us about things that are important to women. It's a lot of fun as well. So all of that in that group makes you feel a part of it, and it elevates you. So you do feel elevated when you go into the group and spend some time there. Also, I will say to you that it takes a lot of us a while before we are in a place where we can celebrate ourselves. I can remember for myself to say celebrate you would be foreign to me for a very long time in my life. And there were times where that's just not what you do. You don't celebrate yourself. And that, to me, I look at that so differently now, and that's what makes the Celebrate You movement so crucial, I believe, in this time and for women. So I applaud you and the other co-founder for having the vision to put it together. So how important do you think go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I said thank you.
Okay, so how important, the movement really, it's social media that truly brought the attention that you wanted to. It brought the women there to help. So how important do you feel having a social media presence is to your business and to your movement?
That's the way of the world now. I was speaking to someone yesterday, and if you're not present on social media, then you're not really in business. That's how we're communicating. This is how we're globally connecting. It's how we're influencing. And to me, you're able to do far more, have far greater reach, greater impact by having a solid social media presence that is congruent with one another. When you have conflicting messages and faces on social media, then it kind of confuses the audience. But when people can kind of see that connecting line, whether you're on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, then I think it draws you closer to your intended audience or customer or partners, stakeholders. So it's very, very relevant and very important if you want to survive in 2021 and beyond.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. I have to ask you, LaWanna, how was 2020 for you in the COVID-19 crisis?
For me, it was a good year. It was a year of, I always like, because I'm a strategist and an analyst as well, and so I always like to challenge status quo. And one of the things that made me smile as we went through the year was, and you've heard the term, everyone was pivoting, right? And I laughed because I thought, well, people are pivoting, but they don't know why they're pivoting. It's like someone screamed, the sky is falling, the CLS, Chicken Little syndrome, and then everyone just starts running left. But is left really the direction you're supposed to go? They just went because all the masses went that way. But they didn't see who was leading, the trail, and they have no idea where that visionary was going. But they just felt, let me hook my wagon up to this. And so my platform was not so much the message of the pivot, but the message of reposition to remain relevant, whether it's in life or in business. Because when you're repositioning yourself in life, that means you're always expanding, always growing, always in tune with what's happening in the world, in your local community and your global community. You're able to communicate cross-cultures because you go wide with your knowledge and deep with your experience. And that's the same thing with business. Sometimes it's about how do I make sure that I understand, number one, what my clients want so I can maintain a sense of relevancy, meeting them at their needs, and not always saying, oops, this is a little hard, let me quickly change direction. And that's what so many people started to do, and what we're finding now is many businesses are failing because there is a system to apply when you pivot. There's certain criteria, but people weren't teaching the criteria. And so for me, I applied proven formula that works, what enabled us to survive the economic downturn in 2007, 2008 as a mortgage brokerage. And I use that same strategy to continue to survive and to grow our community, to grow our business. In our first quarter of 2020, we did over $1 million in business on the mortgage side of the house. And it was because we made sure that we remained relevant to our clients and communicating with them where they were and making sure that our products met the current needs. But I didn't say, well, let me close my doors and do something else. I mean, I've invested a lot of time and energy. That wouldn't make a lot of sense.
I absolutely agree with you. And, pivot became the natural word for 2020. I myself use it a lot. Most people are using it a lot. But one of the things that you said that I did, but I didn't really put the term of repositioning myself. And that's absolutely, I've been in the event industry for over 20 years. So when that happened, the first thought was, is my business going to survive? And then the second thought was, yes, it is. It has to just be different, and I have to learn where I needed to learn and put some other things in place. So I did have that fear of closing the door after 20 years. But you know what? Because I repositioned, which, I just haven't heard a lot of people use that word. It was the word pivot that was used. And I did a lot of things and a lot of doors opened that if I would have just sat down and said, okay, I'm in the event industry, it's over, would never have happened. So I appreciate that. So now that you're into 2021, are you having to make some additional changes, or how are things going as we approach the end of the first quarter in 2021?
I think as a business owner, you should always be changing. It's all because life is always going to be changing. That's the one thing that is constant is change. And so the moment you get comfortable or static, I think that's when your business has a risk of imploding or collapsing upon itself. So we are always looking at ways to be more innovative, listening to our clients. That's another key thing that many small business owners are not doing. They're not having those client communications to understand really what their pain points are and what they need. And so we're not going on assumption. We're going on, actual empirical data and saying, okay, this is what our clients say. This is what we can do, or this is what we can't do. And if we can't, then we find those partner relations that we can turn that client over to. So I think with us, it's just ongoing innovation. The mortgage industry is radically changing right now in so many lanes. So it's keeping abreast with what's happening from a regulatory guidance standpoint, communicating to our borrowers about that, and just maintaining those strong relationships that we've had over the years. And then from the consulting side of the house, really my passion right now, because primarily our clients were big business, and that's really our bread and butter, but I really have a passion for the small business owner. I want to take the success principles that I use when I talk to a large corporation and translate it down for small business success. So we're looking at developing new tools and training programs to help simplify the message to create greater chance for success for that small business owner.
Do you feel that in your business that there are certain challenges that you face that are specific to women? And if so, how were you able to overcome that?
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges. I mean, we're in a system that favors men, and I'm talking about from financial systems, and then depending on if you're a woman of color, there's going to be other hurdles that you have to get over. So it's easier for a man to get a loan even today than it is for a woman. The amount of loan that a man will get will be greatly different from a woman. So I think for me, how I've gotten over in my life, again, I'm 30 years in business, is having the right players on my team, having a collective group of team members, which include men as well as women, and knowing when to leverage what for my advantage. So there's times when I will have my business partner, we've been partners now for over 30 years, and he's a man, I will have him as a face, depending on what it is that we're doing, and there's no shame in that, because I know that I would be just, bashing my head on this resistance system, and why do I need to do that? I just need to get in the door, and then I'll work the system to my advantage. So you learn the art of the game, and you play it better than the person who developed the game.
Oh, that is awesome. This has been a wonderful conversation, LaWanna. Before we wrap up, though, I wanted to give you an opportunity to share with a female entrepreneur that's listening to you right now, and they're going through a whole lot of challenges, and life is scary, and they're stuck. They can't move through it. What advice would you give them before we wrap up?
Well, to the woman that's listening, if you're in a place where you're feeling a little confused, lost, stuck, I would encourage you to find your tribe, find that community that can lift you up, gird you up, and support you. That's really, really important, to have that trusted community, but also find those trusted advisors who can pour into you, who are willing to give to you their knowledge and their experiences to help you to navigate through life's obstacles and show you how you can make those stumbling blocks into stepping stones. And most importantly, to keep your dream ever before you, and just know that if it was divinely implanted in you, it will come to pass. You just know that your success and your determination, when it collides with opportunity, success is inevitable. So don't give up on your dream, and more importantly, keep believing in you.
Oh, that's awesome, LaWanna. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure, tell our audience how they can stay connected with you.
They can connect with me on my website, which is Bradford Group, MTG.com, like Bradford Group Mortgage.com, or on all social media by my name, LaWanna Bradford, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and if you're trying to find me on Instagram, it's the LaWanna Bradford.
Thank you again, LaWanna, for being here today, and thank you to our audience for tuning in to today's edition of Dream by Design. I'm your host, Melissa Banks, saying all your dreams are possible. Believe in yourself, work hard, and don't quit. Until next time, thank you for choosing Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. Enjoy your day.